we will collect those materials, and for every ton that we collect and dispose of at one of the processing stations, we have to pay approximately £40, which sounds a lot, but when you consider that you actually have, the local authority has to pay £97 for every ton that it gives to the incinerator, it is quite a saving there.
So it's cheaper for residents to do it than the local authority?
Basically, the costs of the additional costs for the collection of the materials will be offset by that fee saving.
So from a staffing point of view then, will there be some redeployments? Are there going to be any redundancies in terms of fewer collections? How does that all work?
So as we have heard, the fortnightly collection is going to be introduced shortly afterwards, so that's probably something like September onwards. And we will need fewer staff in that area, and that staff will then be redeployed to other tasks, which include the green waste collection, recycling collection, and the recycling sorting.
So from that staffing point of view then, there's not going to be any job losses?
No. If anything, in the long term, we might even need more people because it's more human resource intensive, but we make other savings from the incinerator savings, from income for the materials.
Now, in terms of the move to the fortnightly collection, one of the things that your press release says is that there is curbside collection available for recyclable materials, paper, glass, etc. Not every home is eligible for that, though. So is it fair to cut those normal bin collections to fortnightly for those who can't do curbside?
The vast majority of properties in Douglas have access to the curbside recycling scheme. We have already introduced a recycling scheme for flats, and many of the flats would actually have access to that scheme. There are only very few properties which would really struggle to recycle, and they would probably be in very prominent town centre locations in old terraces, where the storage space is really very limited. And we are assessing those situations and trying to find good solutions for those properties.
And what kind of solutions could those be?
Well, it might be that in very exceptional circumstances we will continue with servicing them weekly for the residual waste, but only those special properties. Or we look at other things as well.
Do you think this is going to increase traffic at the civic community site?
Probably slightly. Maybe at the start, under people getting used to the new scheme. I think after people habits change and people get accustomed to new things, we are very adaptable. So I think in the long term, the traffic will just go back to the normal level of the civic community site. When you think about that most trips to the civic community site are about green waste disposal, you see that many trips are being saved there.
Now, you do say that the main driver behind these changes is environmental rather than financial per se. Would it not make sense to have that curbside scheme, the more recycling available for collection, rather than people going to that Eastern Civic Community site, though, because it is going to increase journeys?
Well, many people at the moment have to go to the civic community site to dispose of their recyclables, to dispose of their green waste. So there will be actually a lot of convenience saving for people who want to do the right thing, and it will be a bit more inconvenient to just do the wrong thing, putting everything in the black bin.
That's Douglas Councillor Falk Horning.
Just before we move on, a bit of reaction to this already. Mike Jackson on Twitter, to the Manx Radio Twitter account, says, this decision beyond belief, 25k is around £1 saving per Douglas resident. For this, the council are preparing to inconvenience residents and turn Douglas into a litter dump. Utter stupidity, Mike. Thank you for your comment. This is interesting. Couple on text as well. Hi, let's all use the general waste bins around Douglas. They'll still be being emptied regular. Text to 777. What will you do to stop that? Because people could just decide, right, I'll wander off and dump it somewhere else.
Well, people could do that. They would be a bit more inconvenient to do so. They would have to actually go out of their way to do that. And if they get caught by our borough wardens, there would probably be some consequences. So it is just about nudging people to do the right thing.
Nudging. And Andy, here's one for you. I'm kind of hijacking you a little bit here because last question, but Andy has said, please, why is the councillor on this morning's show? So Falk has agreed to come in this morning. Thank you very much for that. Why not man in line where listeners can ask some questions? Andy, good question. Would you be happy to come back at some stage, or one of your colleagues, onto the lunchtime show? Not today. That's a bit short notice, but would you be happy to do that at some point?
Yes, at some point.